Hey guys, Run Good Vapes coming back at you. So today, by request, I am going to show you guys how I maximize flavor when changing juices in my Kanger Subtank Mini. This isn't just for Kanger Subtanks. This will apply to many tanks. So if you don't have a Kanger Subtank, this may help you in the future. If you have one, I'm going to be going over a couple tips here on it. And if you're thinking about getting one, this might help you out as well. So right now, I still have some juice from BX Vapor I reviewed last night in here. Their bottles are the little ones with the squirt cap, the little drip cap that's connected. I don't like messing with these, so I generally, if it's one I don't really like, I'll just pour it down the drain. Or in this case, I like it. My girlfriend likes it, so I am going to pour it from this tank to a Untitled Mini tank, just so I'm not wasting a milliliter or two here. I know that's pathetic, but I actually got a tiny bottle of that one because I wasn't thinking, I didn't know how much I'd love it, so I'm going to save what little I have in this tank. But we're going to go over that. I'm going to shoot the camera down, and I'm going to take this apart and kind of walk you through what I do to clean this out between juices. The reason I do what I'm doing here is because right away it just maximizes flavor from the get-go. A lot of people are like, oh, you can't review juices using a tank. My butt. I'm going to show you how I do it. I get great flavor from the first or second pull after switching the juice. So I've had a couple people ask me this, how I do it, and I'm going to walk you through it. So let's go ahead and head down, and I'll give it a whirl for you. Okay, so we are going to start with the Kanger Subtank Mini connected, just so we get an idea. I'm going to take the entire tank off my Cool Fire 4 here, whatever mod. So now we have the tank. I've got maybe a milliliter left of juice in there. You can kind of see it's running down to about that coil. So this is just my process. There's different strokes for different folks, but I found it works effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and twist off the air chamber here that has the coil connected. And how I start, I'm just going to sit that upside down. It's going to let some of that liquid drip out of the actual coil that's kind of hanging there but not saturated. It's going to, you can already see a little bit, it's dripping down into there. And then I've got the rest of the tank here with the juice in it. Like I said, usually I would pour this right back into the bottle. This BX had that little offshoot. What I'm gonna do, just because I know that my girlfriend will vape this anyway, is I'm just gonna pour it right down into this Untitled Mini, which I'll probably fill up with it here in a second. And then I just, if you can tell, generally just gently turn the Kanger Subtank Mini. It's going to get a few more drops out of there. And then I'm just going to set it right side up. Let it sit there for a second. You can see it's already going to start dripping out. I'm going to go a little more in depth with cleaning out this Kanger Subtank. If you don't have one, you'll kind of see how neat it is and how far it comes apart for us, which I love. A few things I always have around the desk. Roll of paper towels. I go through them quite a bit. A bunch of extra drippers for the companies that don't send them. I have a bunch of these sitting around. And then unfortunately, for those of you that have gone through the woes of the Untitled Minis, if you don't use them a lot, you need pliers. So I've always got those here just in case. I tend to use mine enough right now on the side that I don't need to get out the pliers when I'm switching those out. But those are just a couple things I like to have around. Also, Q-tips. I've got tons of them, but it's easy. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this next. But the cool thing about this Kanger Subtank Mini, the glass mouthpiece comes out and the glass comes right off. So we've got all the parts here. I let the middle chamber just kind of sit there again as well without the glass on it. The next step is going to be, the next two steps are probably going to be the most important. What I do is I rip off a small paper towel. I actually fold it over just so I don't waste a bunch, and then I rip it off in sections for the next process. And then I kind of fold it over, roll it up like maybe something some of you might smoke on the side, and then I just kind of stick it in between the glass there. Kind of get my finger in there a little bit and turn it. So I'm cleaning the inside of the tube there. This is important because juice, depending usually on the VGPG, will like to cling on to the side at times. So if you don't clean this out pretty good, you can generally get a kick of the prior juice in there. And a lot of people will skip that step and also this step, which will definitely affect the flavor profile you're getting. I like to thoroughly wipe off this chamber. As you can see, if you don't already have a Kanger Subtank, there's 4 lines that are on the outside of the chamber that help that glass, support that glass. I like to clean off the outside of those, as well as, if you know, get around a little bit to clean off the inside of those bars as well. Also, that center chamber, juice likes to hug that, so I try to get in there with the paper towel, wiggle it around a little bit, just kind of rub down all the surfaces I can rub down to get that excess juice off there. And then I take the Q-tip and get around the top where my mouthpiece is going to go back in. Clean that off good. That prevents future damage as well. Obviously, if you let built up vape or built up juice resonate anywhere, it can obviously create a problem. So I might have one of the cleanest Kanger Subtanks at all times, but I'm a stickler because I do change my juice so much. If I don't clean it out pretty thoroughly, I may run into problems down the line. So now I'm going to stick that Q-tip right down in there. As you can see, the glass isn't there, so I can go straight through. But I'm going to get down into the reservoir area that's below that lip there and just kind of circle around a little bit. Make sure I'm getting all that juice that's hugging any surfaces off of there, because that, one, it's going to keep my tank clean, eliminate future problems like we've discussed a little bit, and it's going to definitely increase the flavor profile of the new juice that I'm putting in there. Now, this next step is going to be optional. This I actually learned from a local vape shop when I first started vaping. I know a lot of people do it. I also know some people that choose not to do it because they don't want to blow their coil. You just have to know when to stop. So what I do is I take that paper towel that I cut off to wipe out the inside of that glass. I just kind of brush over the outside of the coil there, and where the coil meets the air chamber, where the air pulls through, and kind of clean that out. And then sometimes I'll take that coil right off of there and then get a Q-tip down in where the coil meets the battery. Clean that out a little bit. These Subtank Minis tend to get a little juice down there when your coils go bad. Actually, I just had someone comment today on the BX Vapor review about the Kanger Subtank Mini leaking. And he said he'd read about a lot of leaking. And I had 2 when I was first investigating the Kanger Subtank Mini. And but what I've discovered, I've had it leak once, and it was due to a bad coil. If you guys have experience with Kanger, every once in a while you're going to get a coil that just doesn't operate fully the way you want it to. And I put a fresh coil in, and it was starting to leak very subtly out the airflow openings, and enough to bother me. I'd get my thumb and it'd get a tiny moisture on it. It wasn't a continual drip or anything, but I just changed the coil out and fixed the problem. It was just a bad coil. It's going to happen. These are very, small pieces of technology. Things are going to happen. I can't expect it to be perfect. I've never had the problem since. I like to clean that coil off real good. Some people switch them out a lot. These last quite a long time if you take care of them. But here's the step that I was referring to that, some people like to do and some people choose not to do. So I'm going to put my coil back in the airflow section, and I'm going to connect that to my CoolFire 4 without the tube on it. Many of you probably already know what I'm doing, so bear with me. I kind of blow through those air holes. I leave my air all the way open on this. Kind of blow through that. And then this is the part that's optional. I'm going to blow into the coil openings on the side. As I hit it, I'm going to turn it down. I turn mine down all the way to 20. I'll even go to 18. And then I just kind of blow into the opening on that coil and because right now it's very saturated with the prior juice, and just kind of let some of that burn off. And then I'll turn it around. It's still real saturated. I don't do this very long. Some people do it till it's white. I think you're just risking blowing coils extremely fast that way, especially as often as I go through changing juice. Yeah, and then it'll just, I know you guys probably won't be able to see that, but it'll clear up. It won't turn white, but it'll get a lot clearer, and you won't see that constant saturation in there. It's not going to look dry, but it's going to look way better than, you know, a pair of shorts coming out of a pool. Yeah, I mean, it still looks damp for sure. You're not going to be able to see too much in there, but that's going to clear out a lot of that prior flavor. This is the step that it's completely up to you, because if you do burn that a little too long, you are going to affect that coil. You don't want to dry hit the coil without any juice coming in there at all, or it's just going to obviously decrease the longevity of the coil's life, and that's never a fun thing. Now, I usually let these sit here for a little while. Mine was pretty freaking clean, just because I have been doing some reviews lately, and I run that Q-tip through everything I can, because that juice just tends to resonate anywhere and everywhere that it'll that you'll let it. And then I just kind of put that back in the top there. Now that that's sat for a little bit, I'll wipe that outside of that down one more time. Now this is the part where I've heard people dislike the Kanger Subtank. I just realized you got to be careful. You can't throw this thing around and expect it to work perfect. So it's putting the glass back on to the chamber. After I push it all the way in, I turn the glass a little bit. What that does is it's creating a little better seal down here before I put any juice in it. Because some people are saying the top, I haven't heard many problems about the top, but the bottom seal, some people are getting very tiny leakage coming out of there, between there and the air chamber, where the coil's sticking in. So when I screw it in, I also turn that glass a little bit at the end without tightening it, to help there. And then I'm going to refill this with the Stash Sauce Bearded Lady, which is going to be the first juice I review from that line. That video, I don't know, we might do that video tonight. I'm kind of getting bored with Madden. Not bored, but I played a lot of freaking Madden today. So I'm going to, these come in, well, I'll show you that in the next video, in a different type of cap. So I've got a spare dripper here. This dripper's not my favorite. It's got a little wider opening than I'd like, but then just squirt that down the side, just like we all know how to do. We don't need to walk you through filling a tank. And I don't think I'm going to fill this all the way. We'll stop right there. And then some people like to take this part back off. You can do that. I'll do that, since that's probably, a lot of people aren't going to go through that step anyway. I just turn this over and screw it on as a whole. I don't mind. Obviously, if you're going to hit this right away, I never do, because you'll want to, drop a few drops in the middle of the coil, maybe resaturate the sides with whatever new juice you're using. I don't, just because some of you may have experienced this, but when you get, say, you know, especially with this dropper, it's got a little bit dripper, it's got a little bit too wide of an opening. I might get a few too many drops in there, and then when I do start hitting it, you get juice shot in your mouth. And I don't know how many people of you have experienced a juice shot to the mouth, but I experienced one on Thanksgiving Day. And it was my own fault. It was bad coil. I was in a hurry. I needed to switch it out, but I didn't. And it was my own fault. Took a juice shot. Needless to say, your body does not appreciate that much nicotine hitting you all at once. So that came back up pretty quick. So I'll just screw that coil back on. Another thing, it's not that bad with the Subtank Mini because you don't have that many options up here. You're going to be near an air hole no matter what. But with the Nautilus, make sure that airflow is back to open. You can't really see that because in the open one, it's wide open. But make sure you have an air hole showing itself through there. Because I remember when I first started vaping, so if you've done this, don't feel bad. But with the Nautilus Mini, the Aspire, I used to not get that hole lined up right there. And I'd try to hit it, especially when I woke up in the morning. I'd hit it like 5-6 times. Why is it not pulling? Well, duh, the air hole's closed. And then you know what happens then. I was going through coils left and right. But that almost always happened when I was half asleep. I'm not a morning person. So we got that back on there. I just like to blow through that wide open air hole again just to make sure it's all good before I flip it over. And then give that glass, just the glass, a little turn. Reconnect it. Obviously, I didn't fill that juice up all the way because I'm just going to review this juice and then switch it out again. But typically, you know, you're going to be up to right above the coil there if you fill it up to that black line. Don't go over the black part of the chamber when you're filling it. You already know this if you have one. But you obviously don't want any getting in there, and you want room for your coil when you close it. But that's how I maximize flavor. Now, the reason I told you I don't saturate my coil through the process is I'll now let this sit here for a good 10 minutes before I'll take a hit. I just find better flavor that way, and it eliminates my juice. There's no chance of me getting a shot of juice to my mouth unless I'm working with, you know, an ancient coil that's burning out and getting small, and because that'll just, as you know, you guys have experienced it. I guess hopefully you've never had a juice shot to the mouth. But so that's how I switch that out. It's a pretty easy process. When I do this not on a video, it's boom, 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 boom. I do let it sit there and dry a little bit separately. Thankfully, I have some backup tanks. But it's a pretty easy way to clean your tank. If you do it on a regular basis, it's going to increase the life of your tank. And it's obviously going to increase the flavor profile on the new juice that I just put in there. Which for stash sauce, I will probably be cleaning this tank just as I just did between each juice. Because I'm so amazed by their product, I want to give a full review with the greatest flavor hit in my mouth. But so that's what I do for the cleanup. Let me leave you. Actually, I'm not going to hit this, so I'm not going to leave you with a cloud. I'm going to let this sit here a little bit. But like, subscribe. I hope that helps any of you guys out that aren't real familiar with cleaning out your Kanger Subtank. I know a lot of other tanks are similar. This is just the only tank other than the Aspire. Let me real quick, I'll show you the different pieces I've got on Aspire taken apart over here. That was drying out, but you just kind of do the same thing. Q-tip through the glass. I Q-tip around here. I'll even take this whole thing apart, Q-tip through there. You get a lot of buildup in these. Q-tip to the base, you know. Wipe them all down, let them dry out. And then if I'm not using a tank, I let them sit like this. Like this one's been like this over here for like a week. Just because if I'm not using it, I'm going to let some air hit it. This desk isn't really used for anything else. So I can let it, I have room to just let it sit there. But thanks for watching again. If you guys like what you see, if you felt this helped you out at all, like, subscribe. If you guys have any comments, if you have any thoughts, if you have anything to add, I love that, you know, in the vaping community, we all just share things with each other. That's how we learn, and that's how we enjoy everything a little better. So I hope this helps. If you liked it, great. If you didn't, sayonara. Vape on, guys.